life. Really, what is life? There once lived a famous man named Shalom Aleichem who said, "Life is a dream for the wise, a game for the fool, a comedy for the rich, a tragedy for the poor." This holds true not just to a man of the 20th century and the centuries that came before it, but also right here, right now. The definition of life is different for everyone, depending on what social position you take, what river flows near where you're born, what language you speak, and what the color of your skin is. Thus, there is no one way to find a purpose for it. Because of how different we are and how many crazy thoughts humanity invents, like money or gossip or designer baby shoes, the potential is limitless. Anything could mean anything if you try hard enough. Part 1. The meaning and purpose of life. There are many approaches one could take to a life's purpose. To some, it's creating something valuable to have a life on its own, or protecting and loving your folk, or having lots and lots of money and living in your work. Or maybe it's a strong feeling that you're meant for something greater and more chivalrous. We've all got our reasons. These are just a few of the approaches you can take. Section 1A. Creating, production. Artists of sorts tend to go into cliches of the meaning of life, and they're probably the first example that springs to mind when asked about the people who have maybe figured it out. Now, they may be called pretentious, maybe a little bit stuck up, maybe that pomegranate on the wall is just their lame attempt at conceiving something inconceivable.
Oh, that's jeans, dude.
Maybe. What matters in the world of chaos to them is nothing more than the sheer beauty of it. Divinity in chaos, at times so hard to understand, on the other side bringing closure to a disorderly world. Section 1B. Family, procreation. Living for family, living for love. Living for love is living for sacrifice. You take a bullet for them.
I would have taken a bullet for you.
And the statement holds true no matter what you define family as. It could be a quote-unquote traditional family with 3.1 people per household, father, mother, and a couple of kids. Maybe a group of friends who mean more than blood to you, or it's just a person you love dearly and your cat Dorothy. Love holds true in different contexts and fabrics of time. Thus, it gives life a sense of meaning. You'd rather die than lose it. In a rather somber conclusion, if you're willing to run in front of a train, jump from a building, or sell off your home to pay a loved one's debt, you've already figured it out. Go you pathetic little bastard. Section 1C. Career. Abundance and living the dream. The polluted air of New York, baby! You've now made it in life. How great. Your mom is probably so proud of you. You're all she talks about when having a cup of coffee with her gals on the veranda. Your dad probably discusses your professional career with his motorcycle club buddies. What a life! Slaving away at your desk, working over hours at a 9 to 5, getting up at 5 to watch the news because that's what successful people do. Going to sleep at 2 because you simply have too much work. Skipping going out in order to finish that one big project. Not even true. After this, it will be over. Just this one project. Hey, but you can afford an apartment and a cool wardrobe, and maybe fill the gaping hole in your heart with cold, hard cash. 1D. Calling. A strong urge towards a particular way of life or a career. A vocation. Rescuing animals, teaching disabled children, bringing joy to others by being a comedian.
Well, we have a new member of Sarcasmaholics Anonymous this week. Perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name's Scott, and I'm a sarcasmaholic.
Sometimes finding the meaning of life is abstract and stereotypical. Finding your calling in a world dictating what you should do with something that provides dignity as well as stability. By following your calling, these are the rules meant to be broken. This is work that has to be done. Humanity would cease to exist without it. It has to be something you're really passionate about, and the fulfillment you get from it will overshadow any difficulty you might have. Even if there are many, like, for example, being poor. That's likely to happen, I'm so sorry. Technology and value formation. If you admit it or not, you're a product of the media you consume. Countless hours spent on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat have formed the way you are, the things you care about, the aesthetic you fit into, your sense of humor.
And I'm a sarcasmaholic.
The way you dress.
Oh, it's a pocket inside the skirt. A little magic.
Your favorite TikTok dance. Little by little, it changes your value system. Even if you were to define yourself as quirky, you'd still fit into a trope made by popular media. It's inescapable. You can never run from being fit into a box. You will never be alone.
You're never alone.
You will never be alone. Popular media will find you, and it will change you. On a more serious note, it's better to observe sometimes. Take our generation into account, people formed and defined by the media. Born from 1997 to 2012, blatantly hypocritical for knowing so much yet doing so little.
Oh, I'm dying.
Diverse. Inclusive, yet a portion is ignorant. Individualistic, redefining whatever social norms the previous generations will like to follow, even if it's wrong. Authentic, yet so scared to grow up and mature. Addicted to validation, money, nicotine, a glowing black rectangle, and cheesy Instagram comments. Understanding of societal problems because of a 24/7 news cycle, contributing to solutions, taking accountability for them. Understanding that the older generations don't like change.
Blogiausia tai, kad man turbūt reikės sudėti atgal viską. Aš neprisimenu jau kur kas buvo.
The generation of change with no power in the bureaucratic world. Silly teenagers with their silly little problems. Living elsewhere. You see, things abroad are different.
Crystal clear water!
The same population as Kaunas fit into a town reliant on walking distance. There are downsides. The area is not as developed as Kaunas, issues with migration and a really competitive job market, lower education levels, higher crime rates, and the Wi-Fi keeps going out. And with all of that, the community stays strong through prioritizing people and holding the same community as a virtue. There's so much beauty in communication. It's almost a romanticized version of what you want your happy life to look like. Every weekend, people pour into the streets and sit at street-side cafes eating tapas and drinking coffee or beer with good old friends. Greetings are much more welcoming with 2 kisses on the cheek. Food shopping in small stores around town, bakeries for baguettes and other pastries, grocery stores for fresh vegetables and fruit, boutiques for clothes and so on, random bon dias on early morning walks, family gatherings every weekend, so many little parks, so many family friends. To the community in Metro, people are everything. Well, maybe that's why there's so much gossip and the stereotypical Spanish love for telenovelas doesn't seem to be dying out. There's a thing or two we observed here, and a thing or two that we'll be taking into our own families. It seems like all of these people have found a meaning of life in the individuals around them, a joy in being together and pursuing happiness and a wish to be cared for. Not you? Still, really? Well then, you eccentric little snollygoster, why don't you go lie down and never get up or something?
Viršų, aukštyn į šoną, daisy į šoną.
Or you could be right in your subjective opinion and look towards the other side. It could be something that we don't quite understand yet. Like a god or something.
Part 1.5. The meaning of life and religion. Religion has always coexisted with the meaning of life. They're objects of worship defining what is important and what is to be chased. An amazing example of this, the famous Venus figurines during the Gerberian period 26,000 years ago. The focus of desire here, fertility. It is only natural for a society based on survival day in and day out to have such a specific focus on continuing their bloodline. This phenomenon has been kept up through history to modern times. For a great comparison, today's Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism are able to illustrate our going up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs pretty well, and is able to show our progress through history. By showing praying for what we want, we put a pin on the travel map to self-actualization. We start off at the bottom and build up. When our sociological needs are met, the scale of needs continues to grow, influencing our requirements to move further up the ladder and expand. The food and the house must be shared with a loved one who has to respect and support your decision of cutting your own bangs during a mental breakdown and still love you afterwards, which in turn helps you self-actualize. Maybe you like yourself better this way? On a more personal level, religion is the perfect guide in a world where we are all lost towards what is commonly accepted as the meaning of life. Most people can find themselves in a specific organized community which holds the same virtues and moral values as their understanding of themselves. And if the establishment is immoral in a way, it still provides internal fulfillment to their lives. Being loved and accepted, the third step of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is the key building stone in why religion is as popular as it is. Still doesn't give them the excuse not to pay taxes, though. Not to mention the impeccable power religion has over formation of what we hold dear, the virtue of love. Love! Or self-actualization, or kindness, would not be as widespread if not for religion's popularizing and leading the masses towards healing behaviors. This is quite apparent in cultural differences. Speaking from our own experiences, living elsewhere makes you see how connected the world is. Upon a deeper look, you start noticing the contrast. Both cultures are Catholic, yet only religious Lithuanians go to church on Sundays. Both countries claim to have a variety of practiced religions, yet Lithuanian statement seems meek when compared to the diverse, colorful cultural diversity of Spain.
Part 2. Globalization and the effects of IT. First off, what exactly do we mean by globalization? As the PIIE, or the Peterson Institute for International Economics, defines it, globalization is the word used to describe the growing interdependence of the world's economies, cultures, and populations, brought by the cross-border trade in goods and services, technology, and flows of investment, people, and information. The G20,
the group of 24,
the G20,
the G20
is a global bloc composed by the governments and the central bank governors from 19 countries and the European Union. Established in 1999, the G20 gathers most of the important industrialized and developing economies to discuss international economic and financial stability. Together, the nations of the G20 account for around 80% of global economic output, nearly 75% of all global trade, and about 2/3 of the world's population. G20 leaders get together in an annual summit to discuss and coordinate pressing global issues of mutual interest. Though economics and trade are usually the centerpieces of each summit's agenda, issues like climate change, migration policies, terrorism, the future of work, or global wealth are recurring focuses too. Since the G20 leaders represent the political backbone of the global financial architecture that secures open markets, orderly capital flows, and a safety net for countries in difficulty, it is often thanks to bilateral meetings during summits that major international agreements are achieved and that globalization is able to move forward. The joint action of G20 leaders have unquestionably been useful to save the global financial system in the 2008-2009 crisis, thanks to trade barriers removal and the implementation of huge financial reforms. Now you may be asking, how does all of this serious white man stuff affect our daily lives as teenagers? Why would some meetings define the way that our world progresses for the next few decades? To really understand it, we have to change our perception a bit, from thinking about the obvious things to the not so obvious. Although yes, the food in supermarkets may be cheaper than before, or your favorite tech store will find its place in your hometown, or your English-speaking level will improve, it will execute a completely different function as well, changing the way your noggin works, your values, your work ethic, who you aspire to be, what your motivations are, what you look like, what trope you fit into. Every move you make is somehow influenced by popular media. It is not a coincidence. The way you make your eggs in the morning, what jewelry you pick, what music you decide to play on your headphones while on the bus, what grades you have at school, what kind of friends you have, what you do after school. of entertainment you provide yourself with, what you cry about at night. You are not fully you. Never fully conscious, never fully awake, never fully there. Coming back to the definition of who we are as Generation Z, we are able to see just how much influence globalization had on our values.
Leaders, skeptics, and cynics who told us to sit down and stay silent, wait your turn. Welcome to the revolution.
We are hypocritical, we are diverse, we are inclusive, we are individualistic, we are authentic, we are understanding, we are addicted. The comparison of how these two different countries adapt to the results of globalization create an interesting contrast in terms of individuality. In Lithuania, globalization, bringing media around, makes us express ourselves quite differently from what we're used to. The strong cultural uniform makes us want to stand out or create a specific tone or image about ourselves. Maybe it's because of Lithuanians' critical eyes, but we really care about how others perceive us. On the other hand, the people in Spain do the opposite. They try to fit in. When one of the cultural values is communication, people try to make themselves more approachable, more united, less scary, everything to be liked, welcome, and accepted. Even in Spain, the five of us tried expressing ourselves in a more individualistic manner, a huge part of that being how we dressed, essentially because there was no uniform. The clothing we wore defined us, and it also helped to paint our picture as outsiders, which, gladly, were warmly greeted. We do unite over one thing, the fast-paced consumerism of our worlds. The shopping malls, the clothing stores, the food waste, the millions of kilos of trash we produce. Subjectively speaking, it seems like even there we differ. Lithuanians and their connection with nature results in Lithuania having one of the highest recycling rates in Europe. According to data from the European Environmental Agency, in 2016 Lithuania has reached its targets for 2030 in packaging waste recycling. In addition, in 2017 the country reported 48% municipal waste recycled and composted, taking 8th place in the EU. Which is something to be proud of, eh?
And now, to conclude, the meaning of life is different for everyone. Unfortunately, there is a very low chance that your answers would be perfectly aligned with any living organism. Having these various perspectives in our society, we started some similarities, which helped us organize groups of people in order to understand them. Living creatures that have similar or opposite values, religion, looks, style, goals, or aspirations towards them all can have something in common, something that unites us. By that, we are constantly scanning individuals to see if they fit somewhere near our own understanding of life. Our social batteries are now mostly fulfilled through electronic devices, which we carry everywhere we go. We feel naked and lonely without them. Day by day, living by the media stereotypes or creating new insecurities started to feel normal and relatable. At the same time, this never-ending web becomes the perfect place to express a newfound freedom of self-expression, and the internet, the perfect palace for globalization to thrive in. While comparing all of the presented things about Lithuania and Spain, we can see so many differences as well as numerous things that make us the same. We hope that you too can now see the contrast of cultures around the world, where people are still trying to find the purpose of life. Or maybe the meaning of life is simply living. Eating, sleeping, pooping, procreating, being happy, being sad, being confused, loving, hating, and everything in between. After all, we don't have to have it all figured out. Geez, we're just 16 years old for the ethics assignment.